Outside the Box Reviews, we are taking a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan Son Goku figure. And damn you, Barnes & Noble. Seriously, they had to go probably about a year ago and put in these fixtures in some of their better stores containing the SH Figuarts figures and Marvel Select, DC Direct. I think Gundam model kits is the other piece to that whole setup. But if you haven't seen these displays, they're very, very cool looking, very collector-y looking. There's a dome on top of the shelves with displays of all the figures and then all the different figures in boxes down below. And I had really hoped when I first saw this that, hey, they got a lot of Bandai stuff. Maybe they'll be doing the SH Monster Arts figures. And that's never come to pass. They've stuck with stuff that's a little more maybe mainstream. But as a kid, I was super, super into Dragon Ball Z. It was one of my favorite things. Actually, it probably was my favorite thing for about 2 or 3 years, mostly my middle school years. I watched the show religiously. I think I actually watched it on the Spanish channel at a few points because they showed the episodes uncut or more like the Japanese cut instead of the Funimation dub. But it was something I was majorly into as a kid. And the more I've seen of these figures, the more I realize that they are really, really cool. I wanted to check them out for myself. So let's go ahead and just take a closer look at Goku. Now these figures are kind of like little hot toys. They come with tons and tons of accessories to make them posable and displayable in all different scenarios. Now Goku's kind of lacking in accessories compared to some of the other figures in this line, but he does come with a fair amount. First of all, just like a hot toy, we get a lot of different hands. He comes with a total of 7 different hands. He has 3 pairs and then the 1 instant transmission pair that is just for his right hand. We do get a pair of fists, which are very nice, very simple, but just little flesh tone fists. There's some subtle paint shading, kind of bringing out some oranges in the skin, which I think is nice, but very well sculpted. We get 2 kind of open blasting hands, palms out, so you could be shooting off beams or whatever, or just trying to stop a punch or something like that. The peg hole on this is slightly angled, so it helps you kind of get it into that outward pose, which is very nice. And once again, some great detail. You can see all the little wrinkles in the fingers. Fingernails are detailed on there. Just very well done. And these figures are meant to capture the style of the original manga, the comic books, and a little bit of the animation style. So it's not supposed to be hyper detailed, but there's still a lot of good detail in it. Then the kind of clawed hands, this would be good for either the Kamehameha attack. You could have him kind of held back like he's gonna blast or something, or even just once again blocking a punch with more of like a gripping hand. Very nice. Once again, kind of angled a little bit so that they'll be sticking out to do the moves that he needs to do, and same great detail on him. And then, as I mentioned before, the 1 loner hand, the 1 instant transmission hand, but still nicely detailed. The face detail and the head detail on this figure is great. I really love the hair. They capture the very iconic Super Saiyan look. It's all spiky, sticking up every direction. It's a nice yellow. It has some orangey highlights on to kind of darken it up in places. And then going up towards the tips, it actually kind of fades into almost in white. So really a good range of color on there, which I really appreciate detail-wise. He's got his bangs kind of sticking up into his face, and then you can see here he's got a very angry expression, his stereotypical screaming Dragon Ball Z face. He's got his green eyes, his eyebrows, kind of creases in his forehead as he's straining, the little cheek lines that are so iconic in a lot of anime, just kind of under his eyes there to give some definition. His little tiny nose and his screaming mouth. The mouth is a little odd because it just kind of looks kind of plain. It's just this pink. The tongue isn't defined from the rest of the mouth in color, really. I think there is some slight paint difference in there, but it's very hard to see. The teeth are not separated. They're just white blocks in there. But once again, for an animated or comic book style, it does work. He's got his ears going on back there. Very cool looking. I really like the head sculpt on here. And the plus side is it has a removable face, or what do we call this? On fancy figures is the removable portrait, is what they like to call it, I think. We actually pop the front of his hair off, and then we have this really odd receding hairline Goku. And then we can pop the front of his face off and just basically literally take his face off like Nick Cage should be here. And as you can see, there's a tab sticking out and then 2 inward tabs. You can actually even see the ball joint for his neck back in there, which is a little odd. Then you take the new face and it'll plug right into that spot. And you plug his hair back in. And now we have kind of the seething with rage Goku face, which I think is really cool. Very nice, serious face on him, looking very dour, very just pissed off. And I like this face a lot too. I think I actually prefer this face a little because it's a little more neutral of a pose. They also kind of angled the face differently so that the bangs sit lower on his head. With the screaming face, it's actually kind of brought down a little more to kind of give it a more dynamic look. His hair looks like it's raised up a little bit. And then here it's a little more, I don't know, you would call that emo goth or something. He's got his bangs in his face. I don't know, but I like it. I like the look of it. I think it's very well executed. Very nice way to switch out the face and not really leaving much in the way of visible seams. I mean, you could see it if you know what you're looking for, but it's not bad at all. Coming down, the flesh tone on this figure, as I said with the hands, is a nice kind of just standard flesh tone with some darker brownish orange kind of highlights to it to bring out the muscle definition. He's got his neck there. He's got his costume here is more, I guess you'd probably say it's Cell Saga era. Has a very low cut V-neck on his gi, the blue underneath, the blue sash around his waist. No damage to this costume, which I like because, of course, you kind of want to get the iconic version of the character, but in another way, I would have really liked to have the torn up version. Personally, I would have really liked to have the Frieza Saga version where he has just the blue shirt on and no orange on the top there, and just have that torn up and bloody. But maybe we'll get one eventually. His orange gi, by the way, is a very light colored orange, almost a yellowy orange. I think it's supposed to reflect the fact that his Super Saiyan yellow aura is kind of going all over everything and kind of lightening up the color scheme, because the standard non-Super Saiyan Goku they released has a darker orange to him. Some great muscle details on the arms. He's got his blue little wrist cuffs on, baggy orange pants, and his very cool looking boots. I always loved his boots. I could totally would rock a pair of these if I had the opportunity, even though I'd look like a complete dork. But very cool boots. Around to the back, not a whole lot more, but some great wrinkly detail on there. Very well done. Very nice looking. But where this figure really excels is articulation. The head is actually on a ball disc joint, so it can go forward and back actually on a hinge, and then side to side and rotate and all that good stuff. The neck is also its own joint, so you can see that it will go kind of in and out. It will go side to side for big head tilts, big motions, and you can even kind of rotate it if you mess with it enough, but it's kind of hard to get it to rotate and then come back. He has ball joints at his shoulders, actually double ball joints, so you can actually move forward and back with it, up and down with it. You can swivel forward and back, go out to the side. He has the free-floating kind of shoulder piece. It pegs into the back of his shoulder here, so it moves with the arm. And then once you have him displayed how you want, you just kind of rotate the part of the shoulder back in to try to hide the gap as much as possible, which is very cool. His upper biceps swivel. He has a double joint at the elbow and a very Hot Toy style peg with the wrist. You can swivel side to side and also bend, and then you can kind of rotate everything around and make it work how you need it to. The waist joint on this figure I think is very intriguing, because the normal version of it, you can go side to side, you can move forward and back with it, all that kind of standard ball jointed waist stuff. But if you want more dynamic poses, you can actually pop the torso slightly apart here. You can kind of see the accordion's out, and then you can make him move into some very extreme poses, some really big bends. Now you do get some breaking in the sculpt here from doing that, but that's why we have the option to kind of pop it in and out. So if you want something more clean looking, have it popped in. If you want something very dynamic, you pop it out. The belt hides most of it, and you could just get some really cool poses with them. The legs are where these figures all kind of suffer a little bit. They don't work quite as well as I'd like them to. Standard, you can move them forward, back, out to the side, and just like the mid-torso, the waist, you can kind of lower the leg down on a separate joint and go a little further, more extreme with the poses, which is cool. But it really suffers from not having any kind of thigh cut or swivel, because you really can't get as much range turning side to side as you'd like. So when you go to do a dynamic kick, you really are kind of limited into what pose you could get that kick in, just because you can't rotate there. You do have a double joint at the knee, which is pretty well hidden. You can kind of use this joint back here, and it tries to make the clothing kind of follow the movement. You can get into some positions where it looks a little wonky, but overall it's a very nice attempt of hiding a joint. The foot is on a ball joint, so you can move it side to side as well as ankle pivot, and then you have a toe hinge, which is very nice as well. And overall, I really enjoy this figure. He doesn't come with as many accessories as I'd like him to. I feel like this is one of those things that needs just a little bit more to push him into the realm where he's a perfect figure. I think he needs one more head sculpt. I'm not sure whether I'd want something a little more battle ravaged and looking beat up, or if I'd actually want a happy Goku, because, I mean, Goku is kind of perpetually a happy little child of a man. But I actually do think that would be the one I'd prefer. It'd be a happier look for Goku, just to kind of give him a different look in this Super Saiyan mode. We got plenty of hands. Seeing that they gave us this uniform, I kind of feel like it would be nice if they would have thrown in an extra full head so we could do a Super Saiyan 2 swap out. But overall, I really enjoy it. I'm going to give him a solid recommendation. If you're a fan of the anime or the manga, because this is actually, I believe, technically the manga color scheme, I would recommend picking him up. He's a lot of fun to display, a lot of fun to pose, just a lot of fun to mess with in general. He's also not that expensive for an import figure at all, so it's not like you're spending SH Monster Arts money on him. You're spending about half that. A lot of articulation, a lot of fun factor. Just cool overall. Though I would have been willing to pay a little extra money if he came with like a Kamehameha blast or something that you could pose him with, but I'm sure we'll get that with other releases. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, it's been our Outside the Box Reviews. Stay tuned for more to come.